my screen and we will start. And feel free to let me know if you have challenges with what we did in the morning, if there's anywhere you didn't understand and you want us to make some clarification to that. I will try the best I can to do that. And let me know once you see my screen, once you can see my screen. Can you put 555 in the chat box once you can see my screen? 555 once you can see my screen. I want us to be interactive so that I know I'm not just talking to myself. Once you can see my screen, 555. Okay, I can see some 555. Is every other person in this chat? Is every other person in this chat? I think it's just 2 or 3 people that are responding. Please, can I get that interaction from you? Can I get that interaction from you? If you're in this chat, if you can see my screen, 555. Yes, I would believe I have just 2 people in this chat, in this call, and I'll have to mute every other person. If you can see my screen, you can hear me. 555. So you don't log in and not concentrate. So I should assume I have just 2 people here. All right. So let's do some filtering. You can see my screen. You can see my screen. 555 in the chat box. Everyone that can see my screen. If you cannot see my screen, 777. If you can't see my screen, if you can see my screen, 555. I'm waiting for us, guys. Okay. So let me assume I have just 3 people on the call, so I'm going to remove the rest. I want to be sure that we are all following. Okay. I think that's okay. All right. Okay, let me go ahead and get my Ubuntu. Someone raised his hand. Who was that? You wanted to ask a question, please unmute yourself and ask a question. Guys, am I audible? Can you guys hear me? Can you guys hear me? If feels like I'm
We can
just
hear you, sir.
it feels like I'm just talking to myself.
We can hear you.
We are mute now.
Okay, yeah, that's why I have the chat bot. So I'm feeling like I'm just talking to myself. Okay, that's fine. Thank God you guys can hear me.
We are with you, sir.
Let me. I'm waiting for this guy to respond. I don't know why it's taking this long. Okay. All right. So can I ask us a question? We did something in the morning. So I want us to write a simple program on. Sorry, hold on. I want to write a simple program on if statement, and I want you guys to tell me what to write. Right. So I'm just going to open a file. Just tell me what to write. Okay, so let's use the intro. Okay, so who can tell us what to write? I want us to write a simple if program. Who can tell us what to write from what we discussed in the morning? Just a simple if statement.
Let's write a program that takes date of birth inputs.
Okay.
And
Okay, so
then calculate their age and determine if they're eligible to vote or not.
okay, so how do we do that?
Let's see.
How do you go about that?
I don't really know, but here's what I'm thinking. We take inputs, we subtract from the current year. Then if the result is
before then, give me the basic syntax. Just give me the basic syntax. Let me write the basic syntax first.
Date of birth.
The basic syntax of C programming.
The basic syntax of C programming. That's way out of them. Well, let me remember it. That should be.
I'm already writing it. So just continue from there.
Huh?
I'm writing it already,
Okay.
so continue from there.
Dot header now. That should be HD or something, yeah.
And the next?
Int main.
Okay.
Main then void.
Okay.
Then return 0. Okay, that's it, yeah.
Okay. Is this correct, guys? Something is missing.
Not at all.
Okay. Help us.
the curly braces is missing.
Okay.
That's where we input all.
Okay. I've included the curly braces. So what else is missing? Putting Betty into consideration. What else is missing?
Comment.
Great. Yep. It's missing. How do you write a comment? Looking at the function we have here, how do you write a comment just for this function? Can we start like this?
Call us on.
Is this correct? Is this correct, guys?
Is this correct, guys?
Is the comment correct?
The comment should have it should be 2 asterisk before the main.
Okay, asterisk like up here.
Yes, sir.
So I should add another asterisk here.
After the yes, sir.
Like this.
Yes, sir.
Are you sure? Which is going
Yes.
to second that motion? Who's going to second that motion? Any seconder?
I think they are not aligned.
Okay, they are not aligned, okay. But the 2 asterisk is correct, it's just that they are not aligned. So let's work on the alignment.
Sorry, I want to ask, is it a must the comments must be aligned?
Okay. Yes.
I want to ask a question.
Yes. Yes. So now before we even continue, let me because Betty is going to okay, please everyone unmute yourself. Unmute yourself, sorry, mute yourself for now. I can hear myself. Thank you guys. So before we go on, let me give you some very useful tips that you're going to hear people complain about it on the platform very soon. So please pay attention, right? Number 1, when you have, let's write a function and say, let's say this is the function. Okay. And then let's say we are adding int a and int b, right? This is our function. Now you see this function. This function has a return value of 2 integers, which is int a and int b. Okay. Now that means that if we compile this without considering these parameters, Betty is going to complain. So if you're going to write, let's say this is not the function you have right now. let's say this is our function for this program, right? Automatically this comment is invalid. Okay, I will tell you why it's invalid. Now we need to first of all consider the name of the function, which is add. Add is the name of the function. So we are going to write a comment. We are going to add this. Okay. Now you see what I'm doing. I'm using backspace. You see spaces that I'm hitting with backspace here. Let me show you again. Betty will always complain. So for you not to have issues with Betty, you use the tab to create spaces in C rather than using your space bar. You use the tab key. The tab key is that key close to the cap lock, right, at the left corner of your system, of your computer. So use the tab key to make spaces if need be, rather than using your space bar. If you use your space bar, Betty will complain of white spaces. You will hear Betty say white spaces. White spaces can exist before the code or even after the code. Okay. So I don't know, my Ubuntu is having some glitches this evening. I don't know why. Let me say something. Okay. So let's say at the end of this code, you see there's no space here. But if I use my space bar now and create spaces here, so you see now we have spaces here. So Betty is going to complain about these spaces. These spaces are known as white spaces. So for you not to have these spaces, you delete them by using your backspace key to delete them. So that when you stand here at the end of the code, if you use your arrow to the right, it shouldn't move beyond where your code is. So it's your arrow key you use in your terminal, right? So if you use your arrow, you see here we have one white space here. So if we delete it, let's say we need a space, we use the tab to create a space. All right, so that is called white spaces. Now back to what I wanted to show us. For this function, the name of this function is add. So that means we are not writing description for main again, we're writing description for add. And for this A and this B that are parameters, we are going to consider them in our description. We are going to tell Betty that this A and this B, they are parameters here. So how do we do that? Let's write the description for this. Okay, so we're just going to remove the white space like this and hit enter. So here, let's say, so I write my asterisk, I give one space using the space bar. I write add, which is the name of the function, space, hyphen, space, and then say, I can just give it a description. This function adds two parameters, right? So at A with the column, all right, at A with the column, not with hyphen this time. When you're considering the parameters, you use column, space. I can just say parameter 1, at B I say parameter 2, and then the return value with capital R, not small arrow. If you write small arrow, Betty will not see it. If you use hyphen, Betty will not see it. So it has to be column space return a character, right? So whatever character is going to return, and then we end okay. So now let's see if this is okay with Betty. So we're going to run Betty on this first and see. So Betty, I already have Betty installed. I'm sure the next C task they're going to ask you to install Betty. So you install Betty. So intro.c and enter and wait for Betty. Guess Betty wants to complain, but let's wait and see what the complaint is. So Betty says space prohibited after that opening parenthesis, line 9. Total errors 1, 0 warning, 12 lines check, 1 in no description found for function add. Okay, so let's go and fix that. So let's look at line 9. So here, this warning is that no space here. It doesn't need space here, so we close that space, right? We close that space, and it says no description found for the function add. So let's see why that is. Let's try to align this. See. So you see, not complaining about the main function, is complaining about the function that we've written right now in our code, which is the add function. So we'll get to where you know how to create your own functions and work with your own functions. So let's run Betty on the file again and see what Betty will say right now. No description found for function add. Okay, why that? Let me see why it's saying that. Let me just turn this to capital letter. Okay, let's try it again and see. Trust me, Betty is going to no description found for function add again. Really? Are we doing this? Okay, so you see that even my Betty is stressing me. So it's one monster that everybody is going to face, and without Betty, you cannot pass your checks. Abdullah, go on. You raised your hand.
Okay, is it a must for us to, yes, is it a must for us to put the description there?
Oh yes. Without this description,
Can you hear me?
you will not pass your task. You will fail.
Oh,
If Betty doesn't free you, you will fail your task. Right? I don't even know why it's saying no description found for this art, sincerely. And I know it's supposed to be capital A, but let me just try this. Personally, I don't know why it's saying that no description found for function add. I know it's not capital A. Okay. Let me see Betty style. Betty style for function comments or whatever. Let's see. I just want to see the it's see after you brought me. Can I say something? Can I say something? Nothing. Okay. Let's do this fast. Let me have a lot of C files here, so let me not waste too much time. Which should I use? Let's CD to ALS. So ls. Let's CD to 0x0 to ls, and let's CD to let's cut let's cut 4 and C. Okay, so maybe we should add I think, yeah, someone mentioned that before. Now I didn't put that into consideration. The double, I forgot that, the double asterisk. So that might be the reason. What did I just do? Q and exclamation mark. Okay, so let's cut that again and see. So this is the basic syntax. So you see at C, because we have in C here, so you see that we have at C here, and we have the return value. This is column, this is column, this is capital letter. All right, so I think the only challenge you have is this double asterisk that we didn't use here. So let's do that and see. I think that should work. So yeah. Okay, so let's add the double asterisk. Okay, let's run Betty and see. See how far you brought me. No description found for function add. One in SS function parameter a description in add. Okay. Okay. I take this off and use the small. And run this again. I think that should be fine now. The add function should be fine now. SS function parameter a describe. Okay, so the add function is fine now. This other one is simple. I think this should be fine. Okay, so that's fine now. So let's VI to our code again. So you see how long it took us to figure this out. Of of course, I think the major issue we had was that we didn't include the double asterisk. But now this is typically what Betty is going to do to a lot of people, like he's still doing to me right now. Okay, so this is like your basic syntax for writing comments. Always make sure that you are considering your function. If you don't, Betty will not allow you go. So just make sure you are picking your function parameters, the name of the function, the return value, and you write your comments. Okay, so I'll go ahead and clean this up, and then we'll write the function for the main function that I want to use. I hope that is clear though, guys. Can you guys still hear me? Can you guys still hear me?
Yes.
Okay, great. For a moment, I thought my network had Okay, so let's go ahead and write our main function. So main, I'll just say main function. You can describe it properly yourself, and return always 0. So you can have something like this and like this, and it will still work. I don't always use this, but I think it will still work. And then let's change this function to the function we want to use right now. Please, the white spaces, always make sure. Okay, I'm going to show you guys something with the white spaces so that you see. Okay, let's run this first and see if it's okay with the description. Then we'll look at the white spaces. Okay, so it's okay with the description, no warning. Now let's include some white spaces and see in our code this return statement. So you see that this is a tab. You see the way it's moving is a tab, but let's make it space. Let's use the space bar. Now see, you see the way it's moving, that is white spaces to Betty. So it's going to complain about line 10. So let's save and exit and see. Run Betty. Excuse me. So it says line 10, right? Warning, please no spaces at the start of a line. Okay, so that's because we use the space bar. So, and then you also need to know how to read your error. Always look at the line. It will always indicate the line for you. Look at the line, then just go straight to the line and see what Betty is complaining about. So here, let's remove these white spaces and use tab. Okay, so you see it's tab now. Betty will be okay. So now Betty is okay, right? No white spaces. I hope this is clear, guys, because this Betty thing is going to deal with a lot of people. That maybe from tomorrow you're going to hear so many complaints on the platform. But I hope this is clear now. I hope it's clear. I want to know. I hope it's clear. The parameters is clear. The header is clear.
Yes, sir.
All right, let's move on. Sorry, I took a lot of time, but I wanted us to understand this because it's something that even myself I'm still dealing with. You know, there are sometimes I just wonder why there is Betty style. You know, you can just something that you can just do within a minute. You have to follow the style, the procedures, but it's okay. It just helps you to be a better programmer. Your code will be clean and all that. Okay, so let's write a function for let's write a program using the if statement. We did that in the morning, so someone wanted to help us. Okay, so let's write a program that we're going to include the if, else if, and else statements. In the morning, we saw the if statement and the else statement. So let's look at if, else if, and the else statement. All right, so let's do something with int, and let's call it something. So let's call it num. You can call it anything. It can be number, it can be numerous, it can be integer, so anything. So let's say we declare and initialize. So we say that declaration is when you say int num as declaration, and when you add something to it, when you now give it a value, it becomes initialization. I hope that is clear already. So and I say that whenever you declare, you need to give a space. So always don't forget, give one line. If not, Betty will complain. So let's say if num, which is what we've given to it, is greater than 10, right? Of course, num is not greater than 10 because num is equals to 10. So that condition is not. So in some programs, you can see people writing their curly braces like this, starting it like this, but Betty will reject it. So our curly braces must start in a new line like this for the conditional statement. Like I said in the morning, each conditional statement has its own double curly braces. So once you write a conditional statement, open the curly braces and write the code inside the curly braces before you move out. So always make sure so that you don't make mistake. If not, if you have so many if else statement, you'll be confused of which curly braces is for which condition. So when you open it, close it, write the code. When you are done, then move down to our call ends in 15 minutes. So I'm going to create a new link because we cannot use this link. So I will just create a new link and send to us once it ends. Okay, so you just use that link to join. So if num is greater than 10, of course num is not greater than 10, so this condition is not true already. All right, but let's say if it's greater than 10, let's say printf. Let's just say, you can put anything here as English, right? It doesn't really matter, but let's just say the number is greater than the value, or the number is greater than 10, whatever. All right, so let's say the number is greater than 10, just so we have the understanding. Let's add a new line character. Okay, so we exit this now. So we've exited this condition, right? We've exited this condition. We are done with that condition. Now let's create a new condition. All right, so let's give it just one space. So let's create a new condition and say else if, no, I really want us to give this space here. So let's say else if num is less than 10, right? So if num, sorry, we need to add that semicolon here. If not, program will not run. So if num is not greater than 10, we are checking. If it's greater than 10, then print that is greater than 10. If it's not greater than 10, then it's less than 10. So if it's less than 10, let's open our curly braces and close it here and say printf let's say that the number is less than 10, yeah? Okay, so let's jump out of that curly braces for the if else statement. So if these two conditions are not true, the next condition will be else, right? So let's open our curly braces for else now. Else print f. Then if not, that means the number is equals to 10, right? That means it's equals to 10. Print else the number. So we're looking at three conditions is equals 10. So new line character. All right, so let's look at our code. That is the end of our code. Let's look at our code very well. Now we declared that num is equals to 10. The first condition is that if number is greater than 10, of course number is not greater than 10, is equals to 10. If number is greater than 10, printf the number is greater than 10. But if this condition is not true, check the next condition. Else, if number is less than 10, of course number is not less than 10, number is equals to 10. Printf the number is less than, sorry, this is supposed to be less than, but let's just manage it together. It's less than 10. If this condition also is not correct, then move to the third condition. Else, if it's not this condition, if it's not this condition, if it's not this, definitely it has to be this condition. Else, num is equals to 10. And of course, num is equals to 10 because we declare num to be equals to 10. So that means in this code, automatically we should know that this is the code that we run. So it will check this, no, it doesn't go. It will check this, no, it doesn't go. It will print this. Does that make sense? Is that clear, guys? Is that clear?
Yes, sir.
Yes.
Can we run the code and see? So let's run the code and see. So gcc intro.c, let's output this to let's just run it. Of course, you know how to output. I showed us that in the morning using the hyphen o. But here, if we do it like this, then we're going to use the a.out. So let's first of all see if our code is going to compile. So it has compiled, no issues with our code. Then let's run it. So to run period / a.out, which is the default, enter. Number is equals to 10, right? Why is it equals to 10? Because from our code, we said number is equal to 10. So definitely number is equals to 10. So you see number is equals to 10. But if number is not equals to 10, so let's say number is less than 10. So let's give number 7. So that means number is less than 10. So it's the second line that is going to be executed. It will check this one. The number is greater than 10, no, because it's not greater than 7, is not greater than 10. Number is less than 10, yes. So the second condition will be printed. So let's see. Let's compile our code and see. Okay, and then let's run our code. So the number is less than 10. Is that clear, guys? Are we making sense?
Yes, sir.
All right. Thank you. So this is how you can write your if-else statement. All right, yeah, if statement, if-else statement, if-else. So you can add as many statements as possible to it. So you can add like 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 if-else statements to your code. So you check for this condition. If this condition is not true, you should check for the next condition. If it's not true, you should check for the next condition. If it's not true, you should check for, just keep checking for the conditions. So let's do something. We'll use scanf. Okay, so let's use the same. We'll use scanf to accept input with the. Let's see how the else if statement will work with scanf, right? Okay. So here, of course, this is the basic syntax. So here, let's say, let's say num1. So I keep saying that this is it's not it's conventional, it's not static. You can just give it any name of your choice, right? So here I have decided to declare two variables in one line rather than saying int num1 semicolon int num2, like rather than saying this num1 like we've been doing, yep, semicolon, and int num2 semicolon. You know, this is what we've been doing, but what I've done now is to use this comma. Since they are both integers, I can just say comma and then I write num2 and then semicolon, so that will work. So if you are using, if it's the same value you are looking for instance, if you have like a char, you know, and then you have three of them, just change them with comma. So you can just say comma num3, you know, comma num4, and then at the end put a semicolon, and it should just work fine for you, okay, rather than declaring each of them on a new line. Okay, so let's leave a space and let's accept numbers from our users. So printf, let's say enter two numbers, right? Enter two numbers. Let's leave a space, and then we use scanf to accept the input. So now, because it's two numbers, we're going to use double scanf, right? %d. I hope that is clear, and %d, because we're accepting two numbers, %d and %d, right? And then num1, and then ampersand num2, and then a semicolon. So we're accepting two inputs, which are integers. That's why we're using the format specifier for integers, which is %d and %d. Guys, are we still here? I want to be sure that the call has not ended. Are we still here?
Yes, we are with you, sir.
All right. So we are using 2%d because we are accepting two integers right from our user. So that means our user is going to be prompted to enter two numbers. So it will our user will enter the first number. It will ask for number again. Our user will enter the second number. So enter two numbers. So it can enter this, and then of course this is the address of the numbers, which is num1 and num2. Okay. So let's put a condition and say, sorry. Okay. I didn't include so I noticed something. I wanted to write the if. You see that showing red, so it showed me that something is wrong somewhere because it's not supposed to show that. So we're supposed to include our, yep, so that is correct. So if num1 is greater than num2, so let's write a condition for that. If num1 is greater than num2, printf %d is greater than %d. So just to pick the numbers, yeah. So let's give it a new line character. So let's pick num1 comma num2. So it's not different from what we've done before. The difference here is just that here we're having two numbers, so that's why we're having everything two here. All right, so if it's one number, then it just has to be one number. But because we wanted to do this, that's why I started by giving us this comma, so that you know that you can chain your codes like this. So that's why we're having num1, num2. You know, before now we're just using %d, and then we'll give it whatever is the address okay, the name we gave to the address. All right, but now we're using 2, that's why we're having 2. Okay, so we are done with that. Let's give it a space, and then let's give the next condition, which is else if. So else if num1 is less than num2, so let's printf and say %d is less than %d, right? %d is less than %d. Yep. So num1 and num2. Okay, so if these two conditions are not true, then else. Else printf %d is equal %d, right? Let's include a new line character. This call is about to end. Okay, so guys, let's just let me create a new listing and send it to us so that it doesn't end. I don't want you to miss anything. Is that okay? Is that okay? Okay, I guess others are still struggling with network, but let's continue. Okay, so num1, num2. So when you're programming, you don't need to rush. Just take your time, you know, understand your code, look at your code very well, and then you write your code. You don't need to rush yourself at all. Okay. So I think this is all we have to write. So let's look at our code together. I'm sure everyone can hear me, guys. Can you guys hear me? Can you see my screen?
Yes, sir.
All right, thank you. So here we have so we declared two variables, num1 and num2, and here using the scanf we have prompted the user to input two numbers, and then we've also assigned them to an address, ampersand num1 ampersand num2, and the first condition say if num1 is greater than num2, it should just print that whatever number they put here, maybe 20, is greater than 15. All right. Else, if num1 is less than num2, it should just print here and say 5 is less than 10. Else, if the user decides to put two numbers that are equal, it should just say that 10 is equal to 10. So this is the program we are writing. Okay, so let's save and exit. Let's compile our code and see if there are errors. Okay, no error. Let's run our code. Enter two numbers, so I'll enter 10. Okay, let me see if that works. It's supposed to be two numbers. I'll enter 20. So it says 20 is less than 10, right? So it did not check. It checked the first condition. The first condition is not true because the first condition is that whatever you impute is greater, but here we say 10 and 20. So let's run the code again. We run the code again, and then we say 30, enter, expecting the next input, we say 5. The first condition, and it say 30 is greater than 5. Let's run the code again, and this time let's say 10, enter, we say 10, and then it says that 10 is equal 10. Is this clear, guys? Is it clear? I know it's a bit, we are getting advanced already. Abby? Little by little, we are moving higher. Let me open our code so that we see. Guys, are we following? Are we still here? Are you guys with me? Are you guys with me? Are you following?
Yes, sir.
Okay. So look at our code. So the first line is if I enter any number and the first number is greater than 2, this code, the first number is greater than the second number, this line of code should be executed. But if I enter a number that the first number I enter is less than the second number I enter, this line of code should be executed. But if I enter a number that the two numbers are equal, this line of code should be executed. That's what we just did. So we say enter two numbers, you enter two numbers, and then using this specifiers to hold them, which is for integers, we then give a condition that if the first number you enter is greater than the second number you enter. So if you enter 10 and you enter 5, this line of code should be printed. But if you don't enter that, if you decide to enter 10 and you enter 5, then this line of code should be, no, 10 is less than 5. Okay, so this line of code should be printed. But if you enter 5 and 5, then this should be printed. All right, that is what we just did. So let's try that again. Let's compile our code. So let's run our code and see. So enter two numbers. Let's enter two equal numbers. So I enter 7 and I enter 7. The last line will be printed. 7 is equal 7. We run our code again. I enter 60 and I enter 20. The first line of code should be printed because 60 is greater than 20. We run it again. Let's say I enter 6 and I enter 6. The last line should be printed. So if I enter 30 and I enter 60, the middle should be printed because 30 is less than 60. So that is the program we've written. I hope that is clear now, guys. Is that clear? So that we can move to something else. Is
Yes,
that
sir.
clear? All right. So let's move to, I have like the next 80 minutes or so. So let's move to, I had wanted us to do loops, but I thought I should also show us some switch statements, but we might not be doing switch statements now. So switch statement is just used in place of if statements. But let's do loops first, then we might maybe touch on that another day. We might touch on the switch statement another day. So let's just introduce ourselves to loops. Okay, so loops dot c vi. Okay, let's just write a standard before I can explain this. stdio.h. I will leave the Betty style for now. Okay, so loops. So loops actually help us to repeat a block of code multiple times. Okay, so just repeat a block of code multiple times. For instance, you want to write 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12 to 1000. All right, in C programming, you can use loops rather than writing 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. So you can just use loops and say loop from 1 to 1000. In the twinkle of an eye, it will write 1000, 1 to 1000 for you, rather than writing 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 to 1000. Okay, basically that's how loop work. It just helps us to repeat a block of code multiple times. Okay, that's how loops work. In C programming, we have three major types of loops. We have the for loop. Okay, we have for loop, we have while loop, and then we have do while loop, and then we have do while loop. Okay, so this, you are going to have a question like this very soon. So we have this loop, we have this loop, and then we have the do while loop. Three loops in C programming: for loop, while loop, and the do while loop. So for loop is used when you know the number of iteration you want to do in advance. When you know the number of counting you want to do, the number of let me not call it multiplication, but iteration. I don't know if you understand what iteration means. You know, the number of add this to this, add this to this, add this to this you want to do. Okay, you already know it, so you're just doing for loop. Okay, so for this is equals to this, do this. Okay, that's when you use for loop. Okay, so we're going to see for loop, and then we're going to see the while loop. The while loop is actually used when you want to repeat a block of code as long as a certain condition is true. So while Ada remains a girl, do this. But whenever Ada is no longer a girl, do this. So while a certain condition is true, keep doing something until the condition is no longer true. Okay, that is where you use while loop. And then do while loop is also similar to that while loop. But in do while loop is that it can do a particular thing, it can print a particular thing before it checks a condition. So whether the condition is true or false, it will first of all perform a particular task for you and then check the condition and see if the condition is true or not. So if the condition is not true, or if the condition is true, you can then decide to say, okay, if the condition is true, after doing what I want you to do, don't proceed again. Maybe you can print the line of code once, it checks the condition. If it's not true, it terminates the condition after printing it once. So that is what do while loop is all about. So like I say, we have 3 loops: the for loop, the while loop, and the do while loop. I hope that is clear, guys. Is that clear? Is it clear? Are we here? I know we are asleep.
Yes, sir.
I know we are sleepy already. Don't worry. We are going to end this class soon. In the next we're ending this class by 10:30. Okay, so let's write our for loop right now. So let's declare something. Let's say I. Okay, let's declare I. For I. So now we've entered loops, guys. Pay attention. For I is equals to 1. Let's start with that. And then we say I is less than or equals to 10. Okay. We say I'm sure we've seen something like this before. Plus plus. Hit enter, curly braces. Okay, so let's print something. We say print f. We can just say, okay, so we can just say %d. Let's just say %d and see if this is going to print. I've not tried this before. I'm supposed to write like a test so that you just print the test for us, but this should print the number for us. I guess so. Let's give it a new line. Okay. Then let's call I. Yeah. So we are saying that I is equals to 1. So the iteration is going to start from 1. And we say that I is less than or equals to 10. So provided I is less than or equals to 10, keep printing something. Now we didn't put anything here, so we would have said print Emmanuel, or print Emperor, or print AZ, or print something. But we're just saying %d. So I'm expecting it to pick, when this condition runs, I'm expecting it to pick I equals to 1. Let it put 1 here. That's what I'm thinking it should do, and I think that should be correct. Remember when we didn't put anything when we're doing a scanf, it gave us 0. So I'm thinking this should work, right? If it doesn't work, then we just put something, but it should work because this is an integer. This is format specified for integer. So I is equals to 1. It will check the condition. I is equals to 1. It will come here. I is equals to, or I is equal to, or equal to, or less than 10. Of course, I is equals to 1, so that means I is less than 10. So the condition will run and enter here I plus plus. So now it will run and enter I plus plus, then automatically I plus plus I becomes 2, right? So it will come again and check 2. Is 2 equals to or less than 10? Of course, 2 is equals or less than 10. It will come back and iterate again. Here, this 1 now will now be 3 at that time. Is 3 equals to or less than 10? It will run again until it gets to is 10 less than or equals to 10. Of course, 10 is equals to 10. So it will run and print. It will come back again and add 1, it becomes 11. Is 11 equals to less than 10? 11 is not equals to 10. 11 is not less than 10. 11 is greater than 10. The loop will terminate at that point. Okay. So let's see if that English works the way we want it to print. So GCC loops. GCC, I don't understand why they are doing Shakara. My Ubuntu is okay. So let's see if our code is correct. Let's run our code. Okay, so our code is correct, guys. Did you see that? So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, right? So it terminated at 10 because let me cut this thing. So it terminated at 10 because by the time this iteration runs and it gets there, 10 is 10 less than or equals to 10. Of course, 10 is equals to 10, so it prints 10. It runs again, enters the loop. 10 plus 1, it's 11. So 11 now, it runs and gets here. Is 11 less than 10? No. Is 11 equals to 10? No. The loop will break here. Is that clear, guys? Do we understand?
Yes, sir.
Thank you. So let's open a file. So how about we increase, or how about we change the condition? How about we change the condition and say 10 I is greater than, I is greater than 10. I is equals to, sorry, not greater than, yeah, greater than 10. So I equals to 1, I is greater than 10, I plus plus. I is greater than, no, that's not what I want to write. I is less than or equals to, I wanted to, let's increase this to, let's say 15. Okay, or I is less than 15. So if we say I is less than 15, if we say I is less than 15, that means it's not going to print 15, right? It's going to print and stop at 14 because I is less than 15, right? I is less than 15. So let's save this and exit. GCC. Let me clear my terminal and let's run the code and see. So I is less than 15, so it stopped at 14 because I is not less than or equals to 15. I is less than 15, so it prints that for us, 1 to 14, right? So that is how you can use for loops. Okay, so you declare a variable and you can use it to run your for loop. Okay, any question? Any question? Any question? Any question? So like I say, we can actually put something here and just ask it to print that for us. rather than saying %D, we can just say Emmanuel. So you can just print Emmanuel for us. You can print Emmanuel for us 14 times. So let's run the code. Too many arguments for format. Oh, let me see. Let me see that. Okay. %D, because that's an integer. I think that should work now. That's an integer. So let's compile and see. Okay, it works now because it's an integer, so we're supposed to put the distance there. Yep. Okay, so Emmanuel 1, Emmanuel 2, Emmanuel 3, Emmanuel 4, Emmanuel 5 to 14, Emmanuel 14. Alright, so that is how we can print using for loop. So by the grace of God, our next class will be looking at while loop, and then we'll look at do while loop, then we'll look at switch statements, and then we'll look at nested loops by the grace of God before we get to functions. Any question? And do you have any challenge with today's task whatsoever? And do you have any question? Okay, I believe we are good, yeah? We are good, right? We are okay, right? Guys, I need their response. Are we good? Are we good? Are we good? Okay, I guess we're tired. So me, I'm tired. Alright, guys, so let's call it a day. Thank you for joining. Meet again in our next session. Bye for now.